Today I'm going to show you how I prepared some budget-friendly meals for my family using what I consider to be one of the unsung heroes of the grocery store, and that is frozen cheese tortellini. I find this ingredient in a house brand at lots of different grocery stores, and I'm usually able to find it for around $3 a bag. So that makes it, pretty budget friendly, especially considering the hike in prices that we are seeing in food these days. I've been buying these bags of cheese tortellini in the 19-ounce size for a couple of years now, and I've shared quite a few recipes with you using this, and we'll revisit some of those today. But I thought I would also make a couple of new ones, or at least new to us, and show you how I am using this in conjunction with some other ingredients that I keep on hand in the kitchen to create a really yummy meal for my family that is really budget friendly. I was very excited to see this at Aldi recently. I had not seen it in the freezer section. I've seen the frozen ravioli, but not the frozen tortellini, but they had it last time, and I think it was only $2.59 for this 19-ounce bag. And there's lots of reasons why I really like to use this stuff besides the fact that it's budget friendly. First of all, it cooks pretty quickly, which is nice whenever I'm trying to throw together meals pretty fast on busy nights. Secondly, it's really versatile. I mean, I can use this in soups, I can use it in casseroles, I can use it in one-pot dishes. Also, I like that it is readily available. I mean, I can find a store brand of this stuff at just about any grocery store. And even given the rise in food prices, it has stayed pretty affordable. Plus, one serving of this has 12 grams of protein, which I think is pretty good, especially as pasta goes. And I can usually combine this with other stuff that I have on hand to create a host of different style of meals. What I have here is half a pound of ground Italian pork sausage, mild Italian sausage. I used the other half in another recipe recently, and I just stuck this in the refrigerator, so I need to go ahead and use this. So I thought we would whip up a really easy one-pan sausage tortellini recipe using the ingredients that I have here. I have, of course, my bag of frozen tortellini, my 19-ounce bag, half an onion, which I'll chop. I'm going to use some minced garlic, 1 can of tomatoes. The sausage is already seasoned, so I'm going to go pretty light on the seasonings and just use a pinch of crushed red pepper and some Italian seasoning, and then salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to add some half and half, probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of water here. And I'm going to finish it off with some cheese. You could really use just about any cheese that you like in this dish, but I'm going to go ahead and use this Gouda cheese. They have started carrying this at my Walmart in the Great Value brand for the same price as the other cheeses, and I just like the way that it melts, and it's, a slightly different flavor than other cheeses, so that's what we're going to use tonight with this. Let me show you how I'm making that. I have my half pound of ground sausage and my onions and my minced garlic in here browning all together. I typically don't add any oil to this because the sausage renders some fat for the onions and garlic to saute in, but if you're using a leaner sausage, you could go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil or even a tablespoon of butter or something like that into this if you need something for your onions and garlic to saute in. My sausage is finished browning now, so I'm going to go ahead and add my tortellini, my can of tomatoes, a sprinkling of Italian seasoning, probably about half a teaspoon or so. You could add more if you want more, or less if you want less. Just a pinch of crushed red pepper flake. Don't want to overdo it, don't want it to be too spicy. You could leave that out if you don't like spicy. And then salt and pepper to taste. Gonna add about a cup of water and about half a cup of half and half, and give that a stir and see where we stand with the liquids. It's probably good. It doesn't take very much liquid for these tortellini to cook, but the good news is that if you overdo it on the liquids, it just turns into tortellini soup, which is also delicious. So we're gonna go with that for now. I'm gonna bring that up to a simmer. I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna let it cook for about 6 or 7 minutes. It doesn't take very long for the tortellini to cook through, and then we'll be ready to finish it out with the cheese. You could also toss in some frozen veggies, like some frozen peas and carrots, or at the very end before you serve it, you could stir in a few handfuls of fresh spinach if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep it as is. I'm not gonna add any more vegetables besides the tomatoes, and instead I'm just going to make some vegetables to go on the side with this dish. My tortellini is done, and I did use just a tad too much liquid in this. I'd probably cut back the water on it. if you were making it or if I was making it again. But what I'm gonna do is add the cheese. I'm gonna stir in the cheese here, and then I'm just gonna pop the lid back on and let it sit for a few minutes and see if that helps it thicken up just a little bit before I plate it up. So it is definitely just a teeny bit runny. I mean, it doesn't hurt the flavor at all. It's still really, really good. If you wanted to make it thick like a pasta or a casserole, I would just use a little bit less water, like maybe use a half a cup instead of a full cup like I use. Or I could have just added a little bit more, like another cup of chicken broth and turned it into soup or served it in bowls. But honestly, it's still really, really tasty, and it's such simple ingredients that I almost always have on hand. So I'm very pleased with the way it turned out. It's really flavorful, especially with the sausage. You gotta try this. I just walked in the door from church, and I've got to head back out to the ballpark here in less than an hour, but I thought I would throw together a little bit of lunch, maybe slash warm it up again for dinner before I head out the door. And I'm going to make some tortellini on a sheet pan. I just discovered probably within the last year that you can cook tortellini along with your sheet pan meals, and that has been a life changer. It's been a game changer because I can just kind of peruse my veggie crisper for other things I have hanging out that I want to use. And like if I'm going to roast some vegetables on a sheet pan, I can just throw in some tortellini and basically make one whole meal out of it. So I had some asparagus and some bell peppers that I picked out of my refrigerator that need to get used. So I washed those and chopped them up. And I also had about half a jar of sun-dried tomatoes in oil and herbs. And I thought, you know what, since I'm gonna put some olive oil in this anyway and some seasonings, I might as well go ahead and use up the rest of this jar of sun-dried tomatoes with olive oil, because that will help to season the dish a little bit, and I'll be able to get that out of my refrigerator as well. So I stirred that all together with the tortellini, and I seasoned it with a little bit of anti-no-no seasoning. My husband and I have really been enjoying that, and I love to save money, but sometimes I need a shortcut, especially on a day like today whenever I don't have much time to get something thrown together before I've got to head out the door. This video is not sponsored, but I did work with anti-no-nos last month, so I will leave a link to their website in the description box, and I think my discount code Mindy25 for 25% off their entire site might still be good. So if you wanted to check that out, you could head on over there. Otherwise, you can season your sheet pan meal with whatever you want, whatever you have hanging out in your spice cabinet. You can keep it simple with just salt and pepper. You could use a little taco seasoning. You could use a little Italian seasoning. You do you. So I went ahead and stirred that all together. I didn't need to thaw out the tortellini. It will thaw as it cooks in the oven, and I poured that onto a foil-lined sheet pan, and I popped it into a 400-degree oven, and it is baking right now. It's roasting right now. So in about 20 minutes or so, I'm gonna take it out and see how it's doing. It usually takes about 20 to 25 minutes. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese on that, put it in a bowl, and you know what? It's ready to go. It's one of those all-encompassing meals. I've got the veggie and the starch and the protein all in one bowl, so it'll be a really good quick meal that I could throw together and that is using up stuff in my kitchen. And it never fails, it seems like, as I am trying to film. My neighbor has his wood chipper out. I guess he's working in his yard, so if you're hearing a funny noise, that's what's going on in the background. Yes, I live in Tulsa, which is a, you know, somewhat populated area, but here in Oklahoma, even in the suburbs, neighbors can have wood chippers and work in their yards. It's just part of the life here in Oklahoma. Frozen tortellini also works really great for making soups, and I make a lot of tortellini type soups in the wintertime. I have one that is like a chicken tortellini soup. I have two that utilize sausage. One of them is more of a tomato based soup, and one of them is more of a cream based soup with like carrots, maybe some spinach, some half and half, and Parmesan cheese. I also made a really great taco tortellini that used just 5 ingredients. That was in a video that I made last fall. I will see if I can track down some footage from that and leave a recipe for that in the description box, as well as links to some of the other soup recipes that I use. But basically, if you have one of these bags of tortellini and you have some vegetables, you have some broth, maybe you have a protein that you want to throw in there, you can probably come up with a really easy, delicious soup and break out some garlic toast or maybe a side salad, and you've got yourself a really great hearty meal. We have a busy day at the ballpark today, And we already had a couple of lacrosse games, Brick had a baseball game, and I'm home now, but I've got to go back in a couple of hours. So I figure I will thank myself later when we are getting home after a long day of sports activities if I throw together something for dinner tonight. So I thought I would do some kind of tortellini pasta salad. This is something I do a lot in the summertime. Definitely getting some summer vibes here lately. It's starting to warm up. We're gonna be out in the sunshine most of the day. So if I get something thrown together now and I pop it into the fridge, it will be ready for later on whenever we get home, tired and ready to eat something for dinner. So when it comes to making pasta salad, or in this case, tortellini salad, what I will usually do is start by cooking up the pasta, and this frozen tortellini only takes about 3 to 5 minutes in a pot of boiling water, and then I'll drain it and set it aside. And then I'll just look around and see what vegetables I have. So today I have a little bit of cucumber, and I also have a few tomatoes. I don't have any grape tomatoes, they're just Roman tomatoes, but I'll just dice them up. So that's something that I can use. And then I will think about what I want to toss it with. Is there some kind of dressing that I have or sauce? Sometimes I'll just toss it with a little bit of olive oil and vinegar and some salt and pepper and be done with it. Today I have this sun-dried tomato pesto that I got from my Imperfect box, I believe, and I've had it in my pantry for a little while, so I thought that I would use that today to toss everything together. And then I decide if I want to add a little cheese. Like sometimes I won't add any cheese. Sometimes I'll serve it alongside a little cottage cheese. I think that's really good in the summertime. Sometimes I'll use some little mozzarella pearls. I think I might have some of those today, but if not, then I'll probably just dice up, you know, like a block of mozzarella, a little bit of shredded parm, maybe. So these types of meals, these pasta salads, these tortellini salads are also a great way to use things up around my kitchen as well. I'm very happy that I walked in and had dinner ready to go, had something to eat ready to go, because the wind is super high today and I am like feeling it with my allergies. So very glad that I can have something to eat and just relax the rest of the evening and not worry about having to like fire up the stove or the oven and cook something. I hope I was able to share an idea or two that you will find useful today. And if you are looking for some other family-friendly meals that aren't too hard on the pocketbook, check out this video I made last month where I recreated one-pan box dinners.